All right, here we go. Sportsbit betting insight today. We Sportsbit live. Pauly and Teddy. We were back Wednesday after our month off, and now we're ready to go as football is here. And a Hall of Fame game preview coming up. Also, part 2 on how to hopefully beat and how to bet NFL preseason and make some money out there. Play the day before we get out of here, and we'll get to bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books, and the big news that happened the other day. Not in terms of a dollar standpoint, but MGM and NBA working together on a 3-year deal for $25 million. We'll go over that story and get some thoughts on that coming up. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Bad beat, well, I'll say a tough push here, Teddy. And I know the ticket was on the ground at the South Point, and they tweeted it out. A $7,000 bet on the Yankee game under yesterday, 9. It was 7-2 in the bottom of the 9th. 2 outs, nobody on. Single, walk, 3-run shot. That's a loser. Yankees lose again to the Orioles. They're only 6-6 against Baltimore, and Sonny Gray gets lit up. Tough one there. You thought you were at least going to get out of there with the push.
Exactly. I mean, you search for the 9, you find the 9, you get the best available number in your pocket. You got 2 outs and nobody on, and then your worst freaking nightmare, especially when you're making a substantial wager. Your meaningless single, your walk, and then the bomb. 7-2 push. No. Under tickets aren't going to push. Under tickets going to lose with the 7-5 final.
Yeah, amen, brother. How about the Brewers plus the 1.5? A lot of people like to take the dog plus the 1.5. 4-4 in the 10th. The only way you can lose if it's a walk-off shot, 2 or a 3-run shot, or a salami, and Grandal goes deep. Dodgers win 6-4. Rip up the Brewer tickets. And St. Louis, Colorado under 8. 3-2 in the bottom of the 8th. Cardinals get 3. Rockies get 1 in the 9th. 6-3 final.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Dodgers bullpen allow Milwaukee to get back into it. And then Milwaukee's bullpen, which had been real good all year, didn't get the job done in the 10th last night. And the plus 1.5 with Milwaukee. They played so well on this road trip. It was like minus 155, minus 160 to get the Brewers at the plus 1.5 price. Yeah. Crash and burn. Yeah, you're ripping up those tickets after the 2-run walk-off bomb.
Yeah, they got to face Kershaw tonight. They've had a great road trip. As you mentioned, they took 3 out of 4 in San Francisco and now try to take 3 out of 4 in L.A. Bad for the books. Cardinals, $1.25 up to $1.45. They win 6-3, trying to take 3 out of 4 against the Rockies. That's a day game coming up. Colorado hasn't lost a series since late June. The Nats, 105 up to 120. They beat the god-awful Mets, who are on pace to lose 94 games, and they started 11-1.
Yeah, everyone's still complaining about the Mets didn't trade off their stars. It's like anytime a team is out of contention for 1 year, the markets are convinced, oh, you got to trade everybody, fire sale. There are enough pieces for the Mets to think they're going to be competitive next year. I can understand why everyone's fading them when they can right now. But to give the Mets an F at the trading deadline, screw you guys. It's a franchise. It's not what we can do this year. I thought the overreaction of the Mets were enormous, but meanwhile, here come the Nats. Just saying, Washington playing inspired, better baseball than they were, obviously, but some of that may have to do with their opponent.
Yes, and the Cubbies, Hamels gets his first start. He pitched well. 5 innings, gave up 1 run. The Cubs scored a ton of runs in the first inning. It was a comedy of errors for the Pirates, $1.15 up to $1.30. Cubbies win 9-2. Some bad bets. Reds even money went off $1.20 favorite. 20-cent move there. Lost 7-4. Where are my notes? Mike Fiers left in the second inning, but he is number 3 for pitchers in ROI. Mike Fiers, Teddy.
And of course, he left the game in the second inning, but he's going to get credit for being the starting pitcher of a game in which they won. How to get positive ROI? Either your team wins every time, or you're cashing some nice plus price tickets. Fire's been able to do both of those this season.
KC under 9.5 down to 9, not even close. 10-5. Astros under 8 down to 7.5. Astros win 8-3, not even close. Look at this now. The A's have caught the Mariners for that second wild card. And the news this morning, according to sources, ESPN, Tiger against Phil, $10 million, winner take all. Thanksgiving weekend, Shadow Creek, a beautiful golf course here in Las Vegas. At the Westgate, they make Tiger minus 130. I think the timing stinks. I love the event, but it's going to get lost in that huge college football weekend in NFL.
Yeah, doing it Thanksgiving weekend, I'm surprised they did it then, but nonetheless, one of the biggest, maybe the biggest sports weekend of the season, of the year. We talk about Thanksgiving with NFL, college football, NBA, college hoops tournaments.
You're
now
right.
we got Tigerville in match play. Should be a lot of fun.
All right, the MGM NBA deal, and the word that they kept reading bullet points at this press conference, 3-year deal, $25 million. MGM's paying for intellectual property and their data, and the CEO of MGM he kept saying integrity. As Robert Walker, who used to work there, tweeted, "I'm glad I don't work there anymore," and he basically threw the whole sports betting industry under the bus. The fact that the NBA wants to get involved and stick their beak into this, Teddy, the ball's on these guys to say Nevada's got a problem, and the fact that these guys have been doing this for 70 years and they somehow want to reinvent the wheel. You just see by some of the comments about how they think, well, the handles, the hold is 12% over in Europe. We should get it up to that amount. And I'm telling you, the more they screw with this and the more they have the handout, the black market's going to thrive when it's all said and done.
Of course. The offshores are happy. The bookies are happy. And look, I mean, you could see the picture right here with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and CEO of MGM, Jim Murren. These are two guys who were against each other in lawsuits not long ago. Now, you look at the quotes, and look, it's our job to call bullshit when it's bullshit, okay? Here's the quote from Adam Silver. "Those operators who create the best experience for consumers, that have official data, that have the official imprimatur of our league and other leagues as well, are going to be those that win in the hearts and minds of consumers." What's he saying there? He's saying, well, because you can use the logos of the NBA teams, therefore bettors are going to gravitate towards their product. I'm not buying that. Jim Murren's quote, now we have tremendous data analytics, information from the NBA, and that will determine who wins and loses in this arena, the sports betting arena in the United States. And I think MGM is going to win. These are the official NBA stats that they're getting. Other people are going to mimic those stats or perhaps find alternate or better stats. MGM and NBA, look, we love the leagues and the casinos being in bed together with the concept of gaming is okay. The integrity fee nonsense, the ways they're trying to siphon out money from your pockets is not okay. It's our job to call them out, and this is something we really need to pay close attention to.
Good job. Shame on the MGM as well. I don't know if they're going to run bets through a computer model or what they're going to do or how this is going to help in play, which it could be one positive. But some of this stuff, how about the fact that the NBA commissioner wants to go through betting accounts and look at all these bets and then from there try to determine what's suspicious activity. And again, you kept hearing integrity. You don't get to mention integrity ever again because you had a crooked ref right under your nose and you couldn't figure it out or fix it and spot it, okay? That was ridiculous what was going on with Donaghy, and that was obvious too, and you couldn't sniff that one out. So you don't get to mention integrity if you're the NBA. And also, games aren't being fixed. Stop it. I heard another guy who works for the NBA talking about, well, if you bet you can't have a guy come in and bet a $500 prop, and then he bets it across the street for $500, and then he drives to Jersey and bets it for another $5, and $5. It's like, what, because a guy's on the team making $20 million a year, he's going to give him inside information somehow, some way, and try to jeopardize that so the guy can get down for a couple grand on a prop? It's laughable, the thought process here. They come off like buffoons.
Yeah, and look, we're going to see a lot of this when it comes to the mainstream and sports betting because there's been so much misinformation out there for such a long time. I think a lot of people who are just getting into sports betting, just seeing it for the first time, have wild misconceptions, wild notions. You spend a year, watch it every day, some of this stuff will be put to the wayside. But yeah, the figures being thrown around a little bit ridiculous, and certainly the integrity issues as ridiculous as any.
All right, here we go. Big game breakdown. Hall of Fame game, NBC. Let's do it. Bears and the Ravens. Ravens 2.5. 33 the total. This opened 1 in some spots, so you're seeing some Ravens money, and that's because of Lamar Jackson and RG3. You're supposed to see a lot of playing time for Lamar Jackson and RG3, and a couple of guys at the Westgate who said this, and I agree, here in Vegas. I can't imagine if you're going to see Lamar Jackson for 2.5 quarters that they're going to put a turnstile out there with the offensive line. You've cashed 9 straight tickets in the preseason backing John Harbaugh, who is 27-13 ATS and 28-12 straight up. They were dogs in 7 of the last 9, though. He's cashing tickets, and the Ravens are 9-1. Harbaugh 9-1 straight up in week 1 of the preseason. I talked to a guy in Chicago today. I don't think you're going to see Trubisky. If you do, it's only for 1 quarter, and then that would mean it's Chase Daniel and Tyler Bray. You also have the new coach angle with Nagy we'll get to in a second. So you got RG3, Lamar Jackson, and Trubisky, Bray, and Daniel. There's your quarterback depth chart.
Yeah, but depth chart, it's really important to note this. You're going to see a lot on depth charts. Depth chart is not the QB rotation for any given game. The only way you're going to get the QB rotation for any given game is when the coach or the offense coordinator tells you what it's going to be. Neither coach or offense coordinator has done that for this game. As you talked about, Trubisky, maybe a series. He said the quarter. No, Trubisky might play a series. Flacco might not play at all. It's going to be a battle of backups and second and third stringers. Money pouring in on Baltimore off the opener. Of course, Harbaugh, someone who has taken the preseason seriously. You talked about that 27-13 long-term ATS mark. You talk about the 9-0 ATS mark, the last 9 games in the preseason for Baltimore. These are things that bettors can and will notice. And the coaches who take it seriously in August are coaches that are going to attract betting attention. But when you talk about the QB rotations here, I'm not putting in Lamar Jackson behind a bad offensive line. I haven't seen RG3 do anything in years. And frankly, I would expect to see a lot of Josh Woodrum for the Ravens tonight. Josh Woodrum will not be on an NFL roster this year. You compare that and contrast that with the Bears, Chase Daniel, Tyler Bray. You might not want either guy for a regular season game, but when it comes to preseason QB rotations, that's good. That's 2 veteran signal callers going up against second, third, fourth string defenders throughout the second, third, and fourth quarter of this ball game. That's advantage Chicago, despite the long-term success of Baltimore in the preseason.
New coach angle. Nagy takes over for Fox, who was horrible. And now he used to be on Andy Reid's staff in KC, and Andy Reid didn't care about the preseason. So I don't, as the guest said today, I don't think Nagy cares about this game. But I like the new coach angle. Just for example, last year Vance Joseph went 4-0 straight up in ATS. McDermott went 3-1 ATS. McVay went 3-1 ATS. Shanahan went 3-1 ATS. Lynn went 1-3 ATS. Also unders. Listen, it's fun that it's back, but this is usually a tough watch. It's a sleep inducer and it's a flag fest. And since 2009, you've only seen 2 games with produce more than 30 points.
Yeah, and last year was one of those 2 games. It's worth noting, and there was no drama in the total last year. There were 3 first quarter touchdowns and a made 2-point conversion. So you had 22 points after 1 in a game that was total in the low 30s. Blaine Gabbert, Kellen Moore. You wouldn't want either guy in a regular season game. In the preseason, they both lit it up. I think they each had 180 passing yards in the last year's Hall of Fame game. And of course, the rest of the way, there was only 16 points, but it's certainly been a Hall of Fame series that has not been very good for over bettors. That being said, the matchups here do not favor under bettors. And we've seen the sharp money in many spots come on the over for this ball game, despite the fact that so many of these Hall of Fame games have been, as you mentioned, yawn inducers.
Now, you say pass. I like the Ravens. What do you think? You're going to pass?
Oh, yeah, it's not even close. I think the QB rotation favors Chicago, and I'm not willing to stand in front of Baltimore. Equals pass. Total-wise, you don't bet the game over. You don't bet Hall of Fame games over, period. And yet the matchups say, maybe pay attention to the over. Equals easy pass for me.
All right, deep dive. Preseason primer part 2. Part 1 was yesterday. Go back and check that out. We tweeted. I'm at Real Sportsbit. He's at Teddy_Covers. And SBR Sports Picks. Focus more. Don't look at who's going to win the job. Look at the battle between the second and the third string QB. Look at if you got a veteran who's the third string QB, and also look at those matchups if you're going to have a veteran third stringer going against a rookie third stringer too. Focus on those more matchups, not about who's going to win the job.
Well, yeah, I mean, the media, the mainstream media is going to focus on who's going to win the starting job in the few areas the few teams where there is a starting job battle. You want to make money in August, you want competition for the backup job, the second stringer and the third stringer, going head to head, both guys with something to prove, both guys with a little bit of talent, and both guys going against bottom tier defenses. You want to make money in August, look for those second and third string battles with some decent QBs. And of course, the mobile quarterbacks who can create on the fly, because the offensive lines, the third string offensive lines stink. The mobile QBs are definitely worth something, a little bit more than the drop back QBs in August.
I mentioned this yesterday. It's, numbers. The second one here is hard to beat totals and hard to beat week 4. But unless you're betting the Patriots over, it is hard to bet totals. But the Patriots preseason scores last year, 31-24, 27-23, 30-28, 40-38. And then 2 years ago, 34-22, 23-22, 19-17. What do you think about totals? And it would certainly know week 4 is tough because nobody plays.
Yeah, I mean, there's conventional wisdom for totals. Week 3 tends to be the highest scoring game. The week 3 games tend to go over. Week 1 unders, historically long term, have been profitable. That's not necessarily been the case in recent years, but the long-term database sample size will show week 3 overs, week 1 unders. But I'm with you. It's tough to beat totals. You might find a specific team, but the touchdown field goal question is always an issue, red zone execution in August. And week 4, look, I'm happy when I find 1 or 2 good bets to make in week 4. They're few and far between in the ultimate meaningless game in the preseason.
All right, and 2 more. You take it away, Teddy. Understanding coach speak, and you better have a couple good reasons while you're laying more than 2 points.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the coach speak. People are, oh, the team stunk. The starter stunk last week. Therefore, they're a bet-on team this week. Coach is pissed off after a bad showing from the first stringers. They still might not care about winning. They just care about the first stringers looking better the following week. Remember, point spread outcomes are usually decided after halftime. Coach can be thrilled when his first stringers play well. May not have anything to do with actually covering the point spread. And of course, last but not least, with this preseason primer, if you're laying more than 2 in a preseason game, you better have a bet against to go with a bet on. You can lay points in August, but you need a reason for both sides of the equation. Bet on laying more than 2. Not enough, especially with yesterday we talked about the 3s not being worth nearly as much in the preseason as they will be in the regular season.
Yes, very good. A week from tonight, 12 preseason games in the NFL. On Tuesday, we get our first look at the Browns with Hard Knocks. Couldn't agree on the Hall of Fame game. What do you still staying in football? What do you like today? Saskatchewan?
Yeah, I figured we'll do some CFL in there with my buddy Babano gave me a CFL tip today. He says, take a look at Saskatchewan, the Rough Riders, plus a touchdown. You can still find the +7s out there right now. CFL late night action, play of the day. Take the Rough Riders plus the 7 for Thursday night.
Johnny Football gets the start tomorrow. How about that in the CFL? Hey, Teddy, how about your boy Urban Meyer? He's in trouble. He could be gone.
Yeah, and there were betting odds on that yesterday. Meyer plus 240 to be fired. Those numbers have plummeted.
Yeah.
It's got to be chalk right about now.
And that's something to follow on what the markets will do if he is gone. A lot of places obviously taking it off the board with Ohio State. Fun show. Football's back. We'll recap everything tomorrow. Hall of Fame game, also the MLB card, and more on the preseason as well. We're back. Tell your friends we were back on Wednesday. It's football time. SportsBit, Betting Insight today, SBRpicks.com, Pauly and Teddy. I'm at Real SportsBit on Twitter. He's at Teddy_Covers. Thanks to the crew. Low Shack and the Bag coming up next.